My name is Anna. I live in a small town near the coast where the sea meets the sky in soft shades of gray. I'm 36 years old, and for the longest time, I thought my life was enough. I had a husband. His name was David. He was 50, quiet, reserved. We had a daughter, Ella, who's now 10. She goes to the local school 2 streets away from where we live. We had a modest home, nothing fancy, but clean, calm, and ours. I used to look at it and think, this is peace. I didn't ask for much. I wasn't chasing big dreams. Just small joys, cooking dinner, watching Ella draw on the living room floor, hearing the kettle whistle on a rainy afternoon. I thought that was love. I thought that was enough. But sometimes silence isn't peace, it's distance. And sometimes love doesn't disappear all at once. It fades, quietly, until one day there's nothing left but the echo of what used to be. In the beginning, David came home like clockwork. He'd hang his coat, kiss Ella goodnight, and sit beside me on the sofa, scrolling through his phone while I watched something I wasn't really watching. We rarely spoke deeply, but I thought that was just marriage. Over time, the small signs began to show. Late dinners, quick smiles that didn't reach his eyes, his phone always in his pocket, even at home, locked screens, quiet laughter I wasn't part of. I asked once what he was reading. He said, just something from work. Then he turned the screen away. I wanted to believe him, but deep down I already knew. The person beside me had already started walking away. One evening, I gathered the courage to ask, David, is everything okay? He didn't meet my eyes. Just work, he said. Then he stood up, walked away. It sounds simple when I say it now, but in that moment, it felt like everything inside me cracked a little, and I didn't know how to glue it back together. He started going out more, coming home later. Once he said he was meeting a friend. You don't know him, he added quickly. That night, he returned after midnight. I asked where he'd been. He said coldly, stop asking questions like that. Then walked past me. I stood in the hallway, holding a cup of untouched tea, feeling like a stranger in my own home. The next day, when Ella was at school and David was at work, I opened his laptop. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't the kind of woman who checks devices, but I was also not the kind of woman who pretends she doesn't feel herself unraveling. I found her name almost immediately. Claire. There were emails. So many emails. Messages that once belonged to me. Words like, you make me feel alive. I wish I could see you every day. You're everything I've been missing. I sat there, staring at the screen, the weight of those words sinking deeper than any silence ever had. That night, I told him, I read your emails. I know about Claire. He looked at me. No shock, no guilt, just stillness. You had no right to read those, he said. And when I asked him, voice barely holding, do you love her? He answered quietly but clearly, yes. That one word changed everything. It wasn't just betrayal. It was erasure. As if our years together had been dust, easily swept away by someone new. He didn't apologize. He didn't try to explain. He just sat on the sofa and scrolled through his phone. I stood in the kitchen that night, tears slipping down my face silently, so Ella wouldn't hear. Sometimes they leave you while they're still in the room, and that's the kind of leaving that cuts the deepest. In the days that followed, David pulled away even more. He came and went like a shadow. He no longer joined us for dinner. No good mornings, no good nights, just absence wrapped in presence. Ellen noticed. Of course she did. Why doesn't Dad eat with us anymore? She asked one evening, her fork barely moving. I tried to smile, but the truth sat heavy on my chest. I didn't want her to carry the weight of something she didn't break. One morning, David left early. I made breakfast for Ella. She looked at me with those big, searching eyes. Mom, are you okay? I smiled and said, yes, sweetheart. But I wasn't. That day, I checked our bank account. Expensive restaurants, hotels, gifts I never received, family money poured into a woman I'd never met. That afternoon, I called my sister. I can't do this, I whispered. She told me, you don't have to. Come stay with me. But I couldn't. Ella's school was here. My life was here. Even if it was falling apart, it was still mine. Soon after, David said he wanted to move out. I need time alone, he told me. I looked at him and said, you already left, long before today. He packed a bag. He didn't say goodbye to Ella. That night, she sat by the window watching the empty street, not crying, just waiting. I sat beside her and whispered, we still have each other, and that's enough for now. Sometimes they leave, but that doesn't mean you're left with nothing. You still have yourself. You still have a choice. After he left, the silence in the house shifted. It wasn't painful anymore. It was honest. I began remembering who I was before I became someone's wife, before I forgot to choose myself. I started applying for jobs. Most said no. Some didn't respond, but one little bookstore downtown said yes. It wasn't much. A few hours a day, modest pay. But when I stepped behind that counter and smiled at the first customer, I felt useful again. I felt seen. I felt real. I would walk home after work instead of taking the bus. The walks became a kind of therapy. Each step whispered, you're still here. You're still standing. Claire and David, I don't know where they are. And honestly, I no longer care. What I care about is this, that I didn't fall apart, that I got back up, that Ella sees her mother as someone who chose healing over hatred. We now read together every night. She picks the stories. Sometimes she writes her own. She once said, Mom, you're strong. And in that moment, I believed her. Strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes, strength is the woman who makes breakfast with a broken heart. The woman who keeps going when no one claps. The woman who chooses peace over pretending. If someone has walked away from you, please remember this. You are not what they abandoned. You are what you choose to become after. You are worthy. You are whole. You are not too late to begin again. So, to anyone listening who's been left behind, lied to, overlooked, or forgotten, you still have yourself, and that's more powerful than you know. You are allowed to outgrow the version of you who accepted less than love. You are allowed to rebuild without apologizing. You are allowed to rise. And maybe, just maybe, one day you'll sit in the soft light of your own peace, cup of tea in hand, daughter beside you, and realize he walked away, but you didn't lose. You found yourself, the end and the beginning.